tail between my legs, first of all, because I left home. And you know, anytime we do that, we go back, you know, there's that embarrassment of, well, I left home because I was escaping something and I thought what I was doing was right, and now I gotta go back, now that I failed. You already have that, but not only that, but I've got no husband, nor any sons to take care of me.
Right.
And so she realized, you know, that there's gonna be a mental thing there of having to return, but there's also gonna be a physical separation of, there was no job she could do. She would have to rely on other people in society to take care of her. And not only that, I've got 2 daughter-in-laws that I'm responsible for. And so she tells them, hey, look, thank you for being honorable with my sons. My sons are gone. What would be better for you is for you to stay in your own home country and worship your own gods. And however you decide to carry on, she gave her blessing. If you decide to go remarry, then you've got my blessing and all. You did nothing wrong by my sons, and they passed before you, and you got my blessing. Now, as we said, you know, these Moabite women were supposed to, before they could marry Jewish men, were supposed to have been converted. And so I'm assuming at some point in time that Orpah and Ruth had switched from following the gods of Moab and was following the gods of the Jewish people and all. And so you're following this God, and someone's giving you permission that the God you had followed prior to this, you can go back over there. Now, based on the calamity that they just got through seeing, one might say that both of these ladies might say, well, you know what? We followed your God, and look at what happened. Maybe we do want to go back to our God. And we know that the older daughter-in-law, that's what she did. But Ruth said she was going to cleave to Naomi. Naomi was her heart. I'm going to follow you and your God. And I'm going to continue wherever you go, I'm going to go. And so God had touched her in such a way that it didn't matter that sister-in-law left, that her husband's dead, that her father-in-law is dead. And she realizes here's what they're headed back to. Naomi, I'm sure, has prepared her. This is what we're going to be walking back into. Physically and emotionally and all, and there's going to be some ridicule. This is what we're walking into, and you're a Moabite woman. There's no, no promise that, you know, things are going to go well, and unless we have a kinsman redeemer that's going to come in, here's what our life could be like. She adequately prepared. Do we adequately prepare people for things like that when they come in here and we say, hey, when you come accept Christ and you do this, here's what's going to happen. Here's what Satan's going to throw at you. Do we adequately prepare people? She adequately prepared Ruth that this is what's about to happen. And yet Ruth chose God. That's an important thing, is that we realize that God is above all. He is capable of all. And even though 400 years existed, there's a famine in the land, God's going to preserve a remnant. And so if they continue to be faithful to God, he would have preserved them if they had chosen to stay instead of up and leaving. And so at some point, you know, Naomi had made a comment about, well, look at what happened to us. Well, maybe it was God doing this to us because we up and left. But she said she's going to return home, and she gave Ruth a choice. They come back home. And as they're coming back home, we know tradition is, and, you know, these farmers, because there's an agrarian society and all, you're supposed to not glean the edges of the field and all, and you're supposed to let those poor and destitute and those folks that are foreigners and all be able to come in so that you take care of the poor in the land. And so these women, not having any man to take care of them, were able to go in and glean the fruits off of this field and all. And wealthy Boaz has all this land and all. It just so happened that Boaz is a distant relative. he goes in and didn't adequately prepare this person to say, here's the predicament, here's the situation. Let me tell you what you're about to be getting into. But instead, he brings him in the spur of the moment and all, and says, hey man, I got an opportunity for you. Come visit with me. And you know, they go in, as they say, the city gate right there, you know, where all the elite folks will go in and do all their business in town and all. And he said, hey man, come talk to me, brother. And they having a conversation. I can imagine he putting his arm around him and all. Said, man, I got a deal for you. And he starts selling it to him and all, right? And he says, guess what, man? You know, our kinfolk in Limelight, man, he's done passed on, man. You remember that piece of land he's got down there, man? You know, he's been gone for all these years. But he's come back, man, and his property is unclaimed and all. And we just need somebody to go in and claim it and tend it and take care of it and all. And he said, man, I do remember that property, man. It's on the nicer part of town. Yeah, I want to go pick that up. And he sold. And then, and he's like, sold, where I need to sign at? He's like, hold on a minute, I got another part of that.
Yeah, the rest of the story.
That's it.
But see, when you're the kinsman redeemer, not only do you redeem the property, you got to redeem the posterity as well.
Yeah.
And so he says, but see, Naomi is past childbearing age there, but she got a daughter-in-law there. And even if she's past childbearing age, we know God can work miracles. But you know, he said, but she's got somebody else here as well for that posterity, Ruth. And here's what's going on with Ruth. And so he gives the story about Ruth, and she's from Moab, and this and that and all. I wonder what he said about Ruth though. Yeah, I wonder how he played that, because he played up the whole property thing and taking over this parcel of land and all that. And then it makes me wonder what it is that he did when he was selling Ruth, and said, but man, let me tell you, if you gonna take this, man, this is the other part of the deal, you know, you gotta get this lady right here, and she's from over here, and here's what's gonna happen with her and all that. And so he starts, and dude's like, wait a minute, man. Now I'm gonna pass.
I don't want no
I ain't trying to, but we can understand this kinsman redeemer probably had his own wife, had his own kids, because he said he was older than Boaz. And so we realize that this guy's already established. He's got his own family. We realize that as your property passes down to your sons, all that land's probably already been divided. And so his stuff's already been, so while this sounds nice, that wait a minute, I get to pick up some more territory, our boys gonna be happy. They got some extra land they get to go get. Wait a minute, I gotta take on another wife too? Is she gonna want kids? And how many sons we gonna have? Uh-oh, wait a minute now.
She looked different.
Yeah.
Okay,
He had to start thinking about that, didn't he? He said, man, wait a minute now. I tell you what, I love my kinfolk, Elimelech, Naomi, but I'm gonna pass. You know, Boaz now has the opportunity to make right, to be kinsman redeemer. And Boaz does the right thing. You know, God always has a plan. And while we realize things happening, we say, well, there's a kink right there. There's something happened and all, and things didn't work out the way we planned it was going to work out and all. And a famine happened, and it just so happened that this one kid had left the family, and he went over here. And well, we start talking about a whole bunch of stories in the Bible and all, and how folks get spared because of one brother that they said, man, I don't like that guy. But he saved the whole family. But all these things happen for a reason. And Boaz says, yeah, I'll take it. I'll take her. I'll fulfill my duty of being kinsman redeemer. And we realize that God blessed Boaz and blessed this union and all, and we realize what ends up happening because of it, because they're in the lineage of Jesus. There's some 40 generations between Abraham and Jesus and all, and if there's other kinsmen Well, let me show you my best. I got 7 strong, strapping boys here. Let me send them on out for you to see. You start with your best one, don't you, Brother Wilbur? He's the smartest, the best looking, the smartest one here. Let me send him out to you. Oh, you don't want him? Well, I got the next one up. Let me send him on in.
Well, that's the proper way.
That's the proper way, huh?
You know, back in those days, you send the oldest
You
out.
send the oldest one.
Yeah, the oldest guy.
He didn't mention David, though, did he?
Now,
And they said, wait a minute. I sense that there's someone else here. He said, well, there's my other son. He's out tending the sheep, though. Ain't it funny how we overlook leadership qualities in folks? Because we start with the oldest is what he's supposed to do.
to my brother,
Like those folks that sit on the back row back there, yeah.
we backseat
The
back.
backseat Baptist, yeah. Let me start with this guy that's sitting up front, because he's sitting up front, and he must be the leader, right? And they start going through and say, well, let's go to the next one, and let's go to the next one and all. And well, wait a minute, there's some guy sitting back there. He's a little ruddy looking and all, and he don't look like these other guys.
Kind of smell like sheep.
Yeah. Woo. But ain't it funny that God can use that even when Moses says, but wait a minute, I can't go speak. I can't do this. And he's giving his brother Aaron and all, and they say, wait a minute, you want to send us in against Egypt? We ain't qualified to do that. Ain't it funny how God gives you everything that you need in order to be able to do it? Man, I can't go to Nineveh, man. Do you realize what's going on over there? I'm gonna go the opposite direction there. I'm gonna go jump in the water over there. If this well comes against me, but wait a minute. All these folks that try to go the opposite direction from God, and God still provides a way for you. Boaz saw something that looked nice, had a plan. He didn't know he was supposed to be in the lineage of a king.
He already was.
He already was. And he was a wealthy man.
His mama was Rahab, the
Yes.
harlot.
Yes. Yes. That's why we have
God
all
let
these
folks-
Bible scholars in here.
God let people like that come into the body, and she's a harlot.
She was a harlot and hid them up there and let them out through the window and all through the city gates and all. And after they got rid of everyone else that was in Canaan, and she was the only one that got to stay, huh? Because she followed God.
Ruth the Moabite.
Yeah.
We're letting them come in here. And we stop people at the door, don't we?
Yes, sir, we do. The lineage of Christ includes Ruth and includes Rahab. Ain't that something?
Yeah.
See, and I'm glad you brought it up. We talk about those 40 generations and all, and it's important that we bring in some of those folks from those generations that we look at and we say, well, we know it passes from one person to the next, and we can point to these people and say, well, it went through Abram and went through his sons and the 12 tribes, and okay, yeah, I can see these people. Yeah, I can see them all being in the lineage of Christ. And then we mention Rahab and Ruth, and you say, wait a minute.
But they wasn't supposed to marry outside they race.
Yeah.
Well, ain't but one race.
You've been raised, huh? I don't think we read any word yet. Let me see this. It says, so Boaz took Ruth and she was his wife, and when he went into her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. We realize that if this union was not fruitful according to God, that she didn't have to bear a kid. So, people look at that too, and they say this is something that was blessed, this union and all, because when they weren't able to have children, they say, well, God's hand must not be on them. But yet it didn't say she went through a period of she couldn't have them. He says he went into his wife and she bare kids. And so the Lord was with this situation all along. It says, and the women said unto her, blessed be the Lord. So they realized where this come from, because this is what this whole situation had happened. With her up and uprooting her family and leaving with her husband and her 2 sons name may be famous in Israel.
Prophesying.
Yeah. He says, he shall be under thee a restorer of thy life. Because we realize that, once they barren and they outside of the will of God, or outside of God takes care of those that he has favor in. And so she's outside of favor when you don't have a kid, huh? Your husband died, your sons died, you can't have no kids. You must be out of favor with God.
Welfare.
That's what people said. But so God must have restored you. It's because of that kinsman redeemer. It's that Boaz did it for you, right? Yeah. And it says, he shall be a restorer for thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him.
Amen.
So that daughter-in-law was a believer as well. And was praying to God as well that God would take care of Naomi. She was selfless. She wasn't trying to take care of herself. She could have stayed in Moab. But instead, she's praying to God like she was taught. And she said, God, take care of Naomi, and I'm going to stay with her wherever you may go. And I'm going to cleave to her, whatever may happen to her. I'm going to stay because God is in charge. And they both trusted God. Regardless if Naomi had prepared her for, here's the life we're fixing to lead. And she said, guess what? I'm going to trust in God. Why is it a Moabite woman can put trust in God, but these Israelites that's been under the protection of the covenant all this time say, I'm going to go trust in something else over here?
All right.
Well, brother teacher, though, I think Ruth had the strength of Naomi, because Naomi called herself bitter.
Yeah, she
I'm
was.
mad at God.
Yeah.
She was
just
mad.
going to go back home and deal with it and said, hey,
I'm
y'all going to live y'all's life?
I'm mad at it.
Yeah. It's funny how when things happen and somebody else prays for us and prays us through it. You got something?
But yeah, I just, as I look at the story between Naomi and Ruth, I think of the witness that Naomi's life must have made before Ruth. She was a Moabite before, but she saw something in Ruth's life. It's like that elder Christian mother that she sees in her the reflection of Christ. She sees love in Naomi. She sees something in Naomi that when she offered them to go back, if you're going to calculate it by human reasoning, you would say, hey, I'm
Makes sense.
young, I'm beautiful,
Yeah.
I can go back to my father's house and get another husband here. But she saw something, the godliness in Naomi's life that just drew her to her, that connected her to her. And that was the God in Naomi. And that's what the Bible in the New Testament teaches, that the elder mothers in the church often take the younger and instruct them in the way. And that's exactly what Naomi did. Look here, girl, you do this. Look here, don't be following nobody else's field. Look here, here's what you do. You go to the threshing floor, lay down at his feet, cover yourself. She instructed her, and Ruth trusted in the God that was in Naomi. She took on, she said, at the thing which you referred to, she said, and my God at the end shall be your God. Wow. The witness won her.
Well, he brought in some good points there, because we know that Ruth was a beautiful woman, and she could have stayed in Moab, and if she hadn't done like that, as you said, with the threshing floor, she could have flaunted her beauty there, and I'm sure she could have had a man that would have said, hey, oh, you from somewhere else? That's all right, we don't care, and you over here, come lay with me, but she followed direction from Naomi and did things in the right order. And look at what God did for her because she followed direction. Instead, sometimes we like to find our own way. I'm going to help God out.
I think it was working both ways.
Yeah.
They was helping one another.
They was helping one
Ruth
another out.
didn't have to stay with that elderly woman, and they didn't have no bloodline. So she took it upon her to take care of her. Because I'm going to go with you. Even though we know that they both witnessed to one another, but let me make my point and shut up. Because them 2 sons was pitiful by the names, the Piney, and so they didn't do
Chiligon, right?
Yeah, went back, but then she found out, as he said, she got a blessing through her, through the Moabite woman.
Yeah. So we need to be careful who we decide to shoo away from us. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, God might have said it to us, huh?
Yeah.
Well, teacher, one thing I got out of that is that, of course, when we look at the story of Ruth and Boaz and Naomi as well, we're seeing types of Christ.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
the thing is that there's a commonality that we can't discount between this mother-in-law and this daughter-in-law. They're both broken, they're both wounded, and they both are in a situation where in that time it would have been viewed as total helplessness. They would be relying upon the benevolence of others to glean the field, you know, live off of whatever was left for them to live off of. But there was a commonality. So they both shared brokenness. This mother loses her two sons. These two girls lose their husbands and their livelihood as well. Both, the mother and daughter-in-law, both experienced that. But what this mother-in-law teaches this daughter-in-law is something new to her. With her being a Moabite, she would not have understood the strength that could be gained from trusting God. So she learned that from her. And so there was something that took place there that would not allow her to go back to be a Moabite again. Because she got a relationship with God that she's been supposed to, that she would not have had if she had gone back to the pagan belief of the Moabites. And so what we have to understand is that God even today puts us in common spaces with people who have common issues and struggles and wounds and brokenness. And that's why he has summoned us rather, to be light bearers so that others who are outside of the faith can see how we deal with the same calamity that they deal with, and that they may see our good works and glorify our Father which is in heaven. And so that is the message. Well, it's a whole lot in that, but that's the message that was true then and true now. And that was also one of the great struggles that Israel had a problem with, because Israel fell because they were the elect people of God, chosen. And really what that means, God chose a people to demonstrate his character to all mankind. And so Israel felt as though they were superior to all other groups of people. And they didn't feel like the Gentiles should have access to their God. They struggled with that prior to Christ's coming. They for sure struggled with it in the early Christian movement of the church. And today, we in the church have that same self-righteousness, if we're not careful, to feel as though, especially today, I should have talked about politics, but especially today, because you cannot be a good Christian and not have a heart of benevolence, because benevolence is found throughout the scripture. That's what this is about. That's why they didn't take all of the corn. That's why they didn't take all of the food out there, because there were those who may not have even believed the same way, but yet the goodness of our God was demonstrated through our charity toward others. And so that was a beautiful picture that Ruth and Naomi painted for us, but it's also one that we have to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, are we doing everything we can to show others how we deal with our pain and our hurt and our wounds for the glory of the kingdom, so that this door at the church is now swinging open for all who may not think like we think, act like we think, talk like we talk. Why? Because Christ is the central nucleus of the church, and that is why we must always glorify him. And that is exactly what this mother-in-law does with this daughter. She encouraged her in her broken place. And that is something we're challenged to do even today. In our own brokenness, we're to be honest and transparent, that we too struggle within ourselves, and we can show others, and we should show others, not how righteous we are, but how vulnerable we ourselves are, and yet how faithful God is to us in spite of it.
The doors of the church are now open. We've got all these preachers in here, you know.
It all works
Yes,
together.
sir. Need to wrap this thing up. We're not gonna have time to. Let's get these last two verses in. It said, Naomi took the child and laid it on her bosom and became nursing to it. And so we know that that's kind of a common practice and all. After that baby is born, you know, they say you link that baby to the mother and all, and lay the bare chest on the bare mother and all, and that baby, you know, you think Naomi ain't had no kid, but you laid that baby on her, and so it sparks the lactation and all and process there, and so she's able to nurse her own grandson. And these women have all looked at the fact that she's been redeemed and all, and it says the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. So it doesn't have a lot of information about Obed in the Bible and all, but we know that there's some importance there that he never would have come about if it hadn't been for this relationship Pastor just got through talking to us about. And that's important in the fact that we realize, as Dr. Wilmer brought in, that the lineage of Christ does not just involve itself with one group of people, but it's everybody.
Yes.
And so why then, as Pastor brought in, that we try to keep a certain group of people out and say, we don't want you involved in here with our God.
Yeah.
You don't meet the same qualifications. You look different. You act different. You talk different. You don't get to have access.
Yes.
But we serve a God who is a God of all, regardless of where you come from and what you look like.
Praise the Lord.
And if we truly believe that, then we be able to receive all the gifts that God wants us to get. And we can show people that this is what our God is. He's an all-inclusive God, as long as you believe in Him.
Now you talking about the preachers, and now you put
Y'all stirred it up. Pastor Lenny is amen.
good job, brother. Yeah, good job. Yeah.
A lot of information in them short verses.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can't tell it all.